Urusei Yatsura, the English translation meaning Those Obnoxious Aliens, was a popular sci-fi romantic comedy anime which aired between 1980 to 1986, with a reboot hosting a second season which is currently airing. Being one of the most innovative animes of its time, there are a lot of segments in the original run of the franchise that have inspired many different works of media over the decades. This anime is great. The characters are great, the writing is very clever and funny, the soundtrack is amazing, and the cast of characters as well as the voice actors that portray them are fantastic. For me, Urusei Yatsura hosts one of my favorite anime films, its second film, Beautiful Dreamer. There is a lot to be said about Urusei Yatsura 2, Beautiful Dreamer. As a probable inspiration of Inception and other simulation and dreamlike films, while also being directed by the individual who would later direct Ghost in the Shell, Mamoru Oshii. Though the film centers itself only on a small number of the large cast of characters that make up the Urusei Yatsura universe, this does lead the second film to be easily accessible for those who wish to watch the film, but not the whole series. One of the most interesting things about Urusei Yatsura 2 is that a lot of American audiences that have watched the film don't have a clue about the anime series that it is based off. Although these reviewers on IMDb praise the film, there are a lot of important points in Urusei Yatsura's television run that are the fundamental base of many themes inside their second film. That's why I'm here to attempt to solve that issue. I've created a list of episodes that I would recommend are required watching only for Beautiful Dreamer. Now I understand that most people who watch this video also will probably not watch all the original episodes. Urusei Yatsura is not a show to binge, take it from me, someone who has binged it, but the fact that there is almost 200 episodes, 6 films, and a handful of OVAs and specials is daunting, and though I do recommend the show, if you don't know if you'd like it, give the first 2 episodes of the reboot a shot. They're built for a modern audience. I was skeptical of the show at first, but I watched the reboot and I got pretty into it. Here is what I'm going to do. I'll present 2 separate lists of episodes. One list will be the episodes that I recommend from the original. The second list will be episodes that I recommend from the rebooted 2022 show. Before the Beautiful Dreamer film was released, 100 episodes have already aired and the one film Only You released. Because Beautiful Dreamer is written around a smaller cast of characters rather than the larger cast of characters that make up the whole show, I chose episodes that specifically either introduce or go more into detail about characters that make up Beautiful Dreamer. Now that the list has been revealed, you won't be lost at all watching Urusei Yatsura 2 Beautiful Dreamer, because you'll watch the episodes, right? Hey dude, what's up?
Not much. You?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Hey, I got some good news for you. You know that movie that I was trying to get you to watch, but like it has all those anime episodes?
Yeah.
Well, I have created a list that gives you all the episodes that you need to watch. So you don't need to watch a lot of them anymore. You only need to watch a condensed bunch of them. Hey Leaf, I just wanted to call it to tell you that I finally made that list of the Urusei Yatsura movie, so you can finally watch the second movie.
What?
Yeah, the second movie.
Of what?
Of Urusei Yatsura, you know, the list I was talking about?
Oh my god. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, like...
Dude, I literally have stuff to do right now.
Well, I know, I made a...
like it was important. You called me. You told me to... Dude,
I condensed stuff.
Shut up. If you want to talk about the show, then talk about the show on your own time. Don't make it my problem. I have shit to do. Some of us have jobs and things more important than wasting your time with videos that no one's gonna watch. If you want to do it, just make the fucking video. Don't make it my goddamn problem. Jesus.
Wow, Reed. That's really cool.
I know.
Gee, wow. Instead of watching the list of episodes you gave me, how about you explain it instead?
What? Fine. Alright. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna explain these episodes listed here. If you like what I explain, feel free to watch these episodes or any others from the list. I think I picked out a lot of good ones that you don't need a lot to know about the series to watch. I will also say that if you plan to watch this list, do not watch the first movie. A lot of the characters that are in Only You are skipped in this watch list to keep it condensed for the second movie. If you want any spoilers, hear this right here. If you prefer to watch this show, just do it. Alright? Otherwise, I'll just start. As I bet you would guess, episode 1 introduces the main plotline and characters that make up Urusei Yatsura. The first major character we meet is Ataru Moriboshi, who is the main protagonist of the whole show. Ataru is an ass. Sometimes labeled as the most lecherous man in the universe, Ataru's main drive and common action through the whole entire anime is gaining the affection of every woman around him. Despite this, it is practically impossible for Ataru to ever achieve this dream, because at the same time, he's the unluckiest person in the universe as well. This unlucking is forewarned by an old monk I'll get into later, before Ataru is taken by the government. The reason? Those obnoxious aliens, of course. Aliens from the planet Oni, the species wear tiger-striped outfits and resemble the mythological Oni, invades Earth. To make the invasion fair, however, Mr. Invader decided to pick a random human, Ataru, to play a game of tag against his daughter, grabbing her horns in a week's time, and humanity is saved from invasion. Of course, Ataru and his girlfriend Shinobu detest being the only ones fated to save the world. However, Ataru instantly meeting Lum in person, his lechery getting the best of him, changes his mind and puts the fate of all of our lives in his hands. These elements of Ataru, being a woman lover above all means, his fast and dim-witted whims he follows, never really seeing the consequences of the actions he's about to make, as well as the worst scenarios falling into his hands. These are the consistent pitfalls of Ataru Moriboshi's life. The episode continues with this competition, revealing that Lum can fly, setting back Ataru's chances of winning to practically nothing. The night before the last day, an intense scene between Ataru and Shinobu leads to her promising to marry him if he wins tomorrow's competition. This invigorates Ataru and reveals another component to his character, his tenacity. I don't need to show you how he does it, he just does. He wins! He saves the world at the last second. He's stoked, he's getting married. Lum probably doesn't really understand Japanese well, and probably just assumes his psychotic ramblings are a proposal. This is how the love triangle begins. This is the show now. Lum is absolutely in love with Ataru, while Ataru really doesn't care, ditching her constantly for Shinobu or any other woman, even if they don't even want his attention. Fit with rage on his lecherous actions, Lum will typically punish Ataru like she's Emperor Palpatine or Pikachu, shocking him with her electric powers. The second half of the episode has Ataru putting the whole Earth in debt to a union of space taxis on accident. It ends with Lum flipping the bill, in return with being allowed to stay with Ataru forever. The situation is pretty funny, but the main point of the episode is to just solidify Lum staying on Earth. Okay, great. So you understand the first episode now. You also know the plot synopsis of the show, basically. So, like, imagine 4 episodes passed, right? Okay, so it's episode 5. So, Ataru is sick of this shit and runs away. A little alien guy has shown up. Side explanation. This is Tin, Lum's cousin. He hates Ataru. The very early part of Urusei Yatsura focuses on the love triangle Ataru, Lum, and Shinobu are a part of. Shinobu is probably the most grounded character in the series. Though it isn't shown until later, Shinobu has known Ataru almost all her life, and were childhood friends before they started dating. Despite Ataru being lecherous and fickle, Shinobu at the beginning of the anime was still his girlfriend. Whenever he would talk to other girls, this would lead to Shinobu gaining a massive amount of strength and beating him up in cartoonish fashions. Though he was fickle, it seems that Ataru generally did care about Shinobu, and was probably the closest he had to a female friend or companion pre-Lum. Lum is a fish out of water character, and that after the first half of the first episode, switches her motive to have Ataru love and stay committed in a monogamous relationship with her. Her personality changes a lot based on trying to get Ataru to show any sort of love or compassion towards her, or trying to stop him from cheating on her. Usually this results him getting shocked by her electricity, or has her doing some other thing that usually always has some alternative consequences. She's super dedicated in her efforts and resonates with the character clash between him and her, Lum an unstoppable force of love clashing with Ataru's tenacious fickleness. However, because she is a fish out of water, she's very naive of Earth's customs and traditions. Some episodes will involve Ataru tricking Lum into doing something for his benefit by using her lack of understanding of our world to his benefit, but usually gets the consequences served back to him by the end of the episode. Back to the episode, however. While running away from his problems, Ataru meets another major character, Sakura, a shrine maiden who in this episode is plagued with bad spirits. She tries to get rid of both hers and Ataru's bad luck, but at the end of the episode, she only removed hers, giving them all to Ataru. The second part of the episode has Sakura becoming the school nurse. Sakura is a staple character in the show too, and is probably the character Ataru pervs on the most. She's usually the most serious character in the room and always acts as the adult in control, especially in episodes dealing with non-sci-fi oddities. Sakura is also related to the old monk that I was talking about in the first episode, Cherry. Usually, whenever Cherry shows up, it means things are about to get hectic. He naturally can just sense when bad luck is around and constantly lets Ataru know that he's an unlucky bastard and to watch out. Of which Ataru and almost everyone around him ignores his warnings. Since I've done all the explaining I can, now it's time to skip 5 more episodes so we can talk about episode 10. It's the Christmas episode, though in an American standpoint, I don't think that it really has much to do with Christmas. At this point, Ataru still has not warmed up to the fact that Lum is with him consistently and keeps on getting pissed off whenever he's trying to talk to other women. Although these characters are in earlier parts of the show, and I've skipped a lot of their scenes, this episode really introduces the 4 main classmates slash Ataru's friends, quote unquote. These guys dubbed themselves as Lum's Stormtroopers. Yes, like the Nazis. Lum's Stormtroopers is a group of high school students that have been best friends since kids, and seemed to be friends with Ataru before Lum showed up. Though all unique in their own ways, I'll be honest in saying that the 4 usually acts as a 4-headed dragon with the same character motives, specifically to get Lum as happy as possible, as she's the only girl the 4 teens ever fall in love with. Megane, the leader and the main focus out of the 4, is a very iconic character. I think the best way to describe him is that he probably has over 2,000 hours in Hearts of Iron 4, and his favorite country is probably Germany. But I don't think I would consider him a Nazi, more of as an aesthetic cosplayer. The other 3, Perm, Kakugari, and Chibi, all have their own personalities and attitudes that are different and unique, but their distinctions are not super important to their characters. Back to the episode, Megane and the gang act as an antagonist against Ataru. Jealous and fed up with Ataru being an asshole to Lum, the group write a fake love letter to Ataru. Though this is a Christmas episode, I will say this episode is much more of like a Valentine's Day episode, which funny enough is the holiday the reboot uses for this same exact plot. The whole plan they had is to set up Ataru on a date with a girl that the group hires to dump and humiliate Ataru in front of them, all while Lum coincidentally finds out about the plan before it plays out, saving Ataru at the last minute by changing her outfit and pretending to be the girl that gave him the letter. After Lum saves Ataru from humiliation, probably the best known scene in the show plays out. Ataru finally sees the beauty and compassion Lum has for him, and the episode finishes off with Ataru asking Lum to walk him home. This is the episode that turns Ataru's perspective on Lum a bit more. He still treats her like a nuisance and still ditches her to be with other women, but he doesn't hate her and prefers Lum to be in his life. Hi, this is me editing after going through and finishing this part of the video. I just wanted to comment how this ending is like really depressing if you think about it, because like despite what Lum did, he still like cheats on her. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Episode 14 is the last early episode that I'm going to be explaining, as it introduces another major character, Mendo Shutaro, heir of the Mendo family. Handsome, charismatic, cartoonishly rich, and extremely gifted, Mendo is Ataru's main rival through the series, highlighted in his episode where he is introduced as Ataru and Mendo run to compete for the class president. Mendo, like all the other male characters, is in love with Lum. In this and many other episodes, Mendo will attempt to sway or convince Lum to be with him, usually having it blow in his face. Episode 14b is important for displaying the real differences between Mendo and Ataru. Despite women liking Mendo much more than Ataru, mostly because he looks better, Lum decides to use this horoscope alien sci-fi machine that I don't really understand, but I don't think I need to. The point is that she uses it to determine whether Mendo or Ataru are better matches for her, and reveals at the end that both of them are equally as stupid and unpleasant as the other. Lum chooses Ataru because it's basically just her preference. Though it is true that Mendo and Ataru are pretty much as perverted and stupid as each other, the way that they act is the feature that separates them. Mendo hides his lecherous mindset behind his pride and reputation as the heir of the Mendo fortune, while Ataru has nothing to cover the person he is. It's one of the qualities that Ataru possesses that makes him so endearing, while it makes Mendo a much better rival. Despite having all the resources and the ability to have the harem Ataru so longs for, Ataru's passion for being himself, despite the universe being so much against him, is probably the reason why Lum, the main girl in the show that every guy wants, specifically likes Ataru. Mendo is also scared of the dark and claustrophobic, except when women are around, which is very funny. Episode 14 is also a change in the dynamics of the relationships, turning Ataru, Lum, and Shinobu's love triangle to a square. Ataru wants Shinobu back, while Shinobu wants to date Mendo. Mendo wants Lum, and Lum is dedicated to Ataru. Though Ataru and Lum are the main protagonists, Shinobu and Mendo act as a secondary foil to compare with. Many popular episodes include the four of them going on a trip or doing something else. This usually leads to fun antics. Episode 22 is next to explain. The plot basically goes that Lum's dad is worried about Lum marrying a fucking loser, so he decides to set up a party to find Lum another fiancé. This quickly becomes known to everyone, including Ataru, who basically just sulks and ponders about the situation. After Tin tells him that Lum has left for the party, Ataru decides to join Tin in crashing it. Out of all the episodes I'll be talking about, this one probably has the most to do with Lum and the type of universe she lives in. Throughout the episode, Lum's dad tries to set her up with someone, all while keeping it a secret that this is actually a matchmaking party. Meanwhile, Tin, Ataru in disguise, and a few others help Lum escape from the party when it's revealed to her what kind of party it actually is. The episode ends with Mr. Invader seeing his faults and apologizing. Though Lum knows that Ataru came to save her, she pretends not to for his sake. At this point, we are crossing into the episode that I would consider the most important. So I'll give you a timestamp here if you'd like to just skip this episode. If you want to watch it, you should. Otherwise, I'll just... Now it is time for episode 44, After You've Gone, which is regarded as the best episode of the show by the show itself. If it isn't the best episode to you, it'll at least be the most important episode in the series. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Lum living here on Earth, and the whole Stormtrooper gang take her and Ataru out. Like you would expect, while the gang praises Lum and how happy they are to know and spend time with her, Ataru begins to complain about the pain and anguish he's dealt with, specifically blaming Lum. After his rant, Lum just leaves and says bye-bye, which Ataru doesn't take seriously until she doesn't come home that night, or the next day, or the next day, leaving just a doll behind. I mean, it's kind of cliche, you know, this dude having to realize the only person who's actually ever loved him is gone. That's all the episode really is. Luckily, Lum does get to know about Ataru's emotional breakdown, because the doll that he's been carrying around the whole time is also a mic. Things shake up in the school. There are some funny moments and bits of Ataru's mindset and Mendo's private police looking all over the globe for Lum. This episode also harps on the sort of emotional affection Ataru brings to Lum that I think Lum enjoys. Not to say that your boyfriend crying in an alley is a fun scenario, but him crying for her. is at least more emotion than what Itaru and other male characters usually bring out. At the end of the episode, Lum comes back and Itaru, who was once down in the dumps, pretends as if he never had those feelings at all. This episode really solidified Itaru and Lum being together. It's not as if Itaru isn't going to stop being the way that he is, but it's now more apparent that Itaru is fine with the situation he is in right now, and really isn't looking to remove Lum from any part of his life anymore. Also, this episode practically removed any actual possibilities that Shinobu and Itaru are going to be anything serious anymore. Episode 63 is the last episode I'm going to be explaining. Though it introduces two characters that don't have much value in the second movie, they do appear in our regular minor characters. The episode starts off how many episodes are, featuring the four main characters, Itaru, Lum, Shinobu, and Mendo, hanging out during a cold day at the beach. They come across a cafe owner and their kid beating each other up. The gang are dragged into their restaurant and try to fuck off until it's realized that the cafe owner's kid is actually a woman, where Itaru and Mendo instantly gain the want to help them out. Ryunosuke and her troubles with her father are a pretty late addition to the cast, a strong cool-headed girl who has a very depressing case of gender dysphoria, propagated by her father who only sees her as a son. This episode just sets up their relationship and Ryunosuke's goal of becoming a woman. I think this episode's great by the slapstick alone. I wouldn't say this is the best episode to end on if you decide to never watch Urusei Yatsura again, so I hope you like it at this point. I don't want to go in depth because this episode doesn't have a lot to do with relationships, it's just a character introduction episode. And since both Mr. Fujinami and Ryunosuke are in the film as speaking roles, I think they deserve at least being acknowledged as existing before seeing them in the peak of the franchise. That's it. That's all I'm going to explain. This may have not been the best way to consume or understand Urusei Yatsura, but I'm going to be blunt. I don't think a lot of people would have digested it any other way. There may be some important episodes I left out. Feel free to talk about them in the comments. Let me know how your day's going too. Me? Oh, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Hey, good news, man. So, you know what you were talking about me explaining all the episodes so you can watch the movie. Well, I've decided that I would do that, and I did. It's done. I finished it, and you can now watch that video, and so you can watch the second movie. Isn't that great?
This video is too long. Can you make a video explaining the video?
What? All right.
Ever? Oh.